You're listening to Beyond the Buy with Alissa, Menke, and Angie, Grau.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Buy. Today, we are going to dig into direct mail and the way it is making a comeback.
Yes, very excited about this one.
Yeah, it's really having a moment. I don't know if this younger generation has an appreciation for direct mail the way that we do, but it's exciting to get things in the mail because for so long, like the only thing in the mail was bills, and that doesn't get anyone excited.
No, not at all. Not at all. I hope that they do. For them, it's a unique experience getting something tangible to look at. Yeah. So I would hope they would be excited about it. I know I always get excited to find pieces, whether they're fancy or less impressive. It's just nice to have something in there.
I mean, I'm a digital girl, but there's a time and a place where I understand, particularly as I'm aging, that I can see something that I'm really interested in online, but then the next 7 inputs in my brain and I have completely forgotten about it. So when I get that postcard in the mail that brings it up, I'm like, oh yes, and I can put it somewhere that later makes me remember that I wanted to action said item.
Yes.
So today we're going to really dig into that. I've got some questions for you. Let's start on, there was this push for direct mail. It was all the rage back before the internets.
Oh, yeah.
Then we saw it kind of die off, and now it's coming back, but it's changed. And why are we seeing it show up now in more media strategies, and what's changed about it that's causing that?
Yeah, so those are great questions. I think what you spoke to earlier about we see something online and then we're inundated with other things. The internet is loud. There's a lot happening. There's just constant content. And as we know, and we've talked about before, you have to get in front of them more and more and more.
Yeah.
Direct mail really allows the marketers and allows the brands to get in front of them in a less crowded space so that it can be more memorable. And like you talked about, it's tangible. You can put it somewhere to remember by, but you also just having that physical aspect can help it really kind of stand out from the other pieces of marketing. And yes, so back in the 1900s, as my kids would say,
it's 1900s,
when direct mail was even more prevalent, very, very popular, it was just something that everybody did.
Just completely sidetracking, but to make a point, how many pieces of mail do you think you get on average in your mailbox every day?
Every day? It's really not that many. Okay, I'm trying to think, averaging out probably an average of 3 to 4 pieces of mail.
So for us, on an average day, we probably get 2 pieces. On a big day, it's there's 6 things coming in the mail today.
Yes.
Whereas compare that to your email inbox. I don't know about you, not even talking about the promotional emails, but the things that truly come to my email inbox that need my attention, hundreds. Right?
Absolutely.
So it makes total sense that this, 2 to 6 pieces of tangible mail will garner, even if they're total crap, will garner some level of attention that is potentially at a higher level than that email that hit my inbox. Because, at that moment in time, I may not have had the mental capacity to act on it and just decided to instead delete.
Yes, I do that frequently. Or it sat there for so long that whatever offer was in there was past. It had expired by the time that I get to it. But I absolutely notice when we get things in the mail. And even my kids, there's certain brands we buy from that my daughter will use. So she even is oh, a coupon in there? Or
that's great.
Going? Yeah.
People typically thought of direct mail as being untrackable. What does this measurability look like? Can you dig into that a little bit further?
Yeah. So there are a handful of points for that. Now we can really highly segment. So back in the day, it was really about purchasing lists. And frequently those lists are going to be by zip code. So you're just buying zip codes, you're sending it out into the world, and you're hoping that they're going to come in, reference it or reference a coupon or what have you. Whereas now we can really segment by all kinds of factors. We even looked at running a campaign. It started with a zip code, but then you can break that down further into demographics that are available through different research. So that is definitely not something that they had back in the day. You can segment by household, like if they have kids or they don't have kids, if they have pets or they don't have pets, which is a great ability that was lacking in the past.
Well, and I think you can layer on, so that's buying a list. I also think that first party lists are more prevalent today, and the like the
More
depth
success.
of data that you have about an individual customer or everyone's part of a loyalty program for something, right? Like that is data that they have about you.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, I am a sucker for a good Dylan's coupon.
Oh, yeah.
They know exactly what we buy, and they give me that one free thing, and it's almost always ice cream. Who's going to turn down a free pint of ice cream and then, spend their $75 for the week of the 3 days of groceries?
Yes, absolutely. And the comment about the list is really valuable. And we'll talk a little bit more about lists a little bit later in the episode. But absolutely, I mean, not just purchasing based on a generic kind of identifier, but really being able to segment is a huge bonus to using direct mail now. It also, like the timing behavior, there's research around when it makes sense to send out your mailers, when they tend to be a little bit more popular, a little bit more responsive. You get a better kind of bang for your buck, which is always nice.
So talk about responsive and getting good response rates. Can you talk to us? Like what is a good response rate? What's average? What's good? What's like, oh yeah, we really killed that campaign?
Yeah. So a recent study that was a kind of aggregate of a number of different direct mail reports shows that an average response rate is 4.4%.
Okay.
Yes.
But we've sort of dug into that, and response rate for direct mail, what does that look like?
So the response rate is going to be really taking action. That's where they're seeing, and that's where that trackability comes in, those measurements. It's somebody who's actually following through on a thing, right? So they've put in a specific URL, scanned a QR code, used the coupon, something along.
So it's not just, I got the piece of mail and I read it, because then 4% is not great.
No.
But if it's, they got it, they read it, they did the thing we asked them to do, like that. So in my mind, from a digital standpoint, like that's almost like they've converted. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
It really is. Yep. Some other, benefits making it measurable are going to be the integration with digital, which we kind of hinted at just now. And then the use of, the QR codes, links, and all of that as well. But also really important use can be when you are welcoming somebody. If you talk about those loyalty programs, right? You're going to welcome them to the program, or maybe they haven't been to your store in a while. So you want to renew or like kind of bring them back in. So some of those almost more personal touch points within that marketing funnel, direct mail can make a really strong, impact, especially when you add in things like personalization.
Yeah, it makes sense. So let's talk about what we think is driving performance behind these direct mail campaigns. You think it's the industry, the list type, the offer, the format? Like, how should marketers understand what looks good and what they should be using to get the most successful response possible?
Yeah, so there are three main factors. Like you mentioned, lists for sure, which actually ends up being most important, I should say. And that's because there are typically two ways that you're going to get your lists. You're going to have existing database, people who you have engaged with, whether that be because they've joined your program, or because they've purchased from you, or they have requested to be a part of your email newsletter. They're within your organization already. And what makes that so much more powerful is they already have a connection point. Yeah. There's already a relationship there, and there's already a level of trust that's happening. The second type of list, that list can also be referred to as a house list.
Okay.
And then you have a prospect list, which we've all kind of heard of. It tends to be your cold list. You might just say, you've reached out to an entity and you're like, okay, I want to buy a list of this type of people or within these zip codes. And it's a cold list. They most likely are unfamiliar with you. There's no sort of trust, no relationship that's been built up. So you really see response rates drop.
When I think of a cold list, I'm thinking of cold calls.
Yes.
And I've got to just, go out on a limb and think that a cold direct mail piece is going to elicit a higher response than a cold phone call that I won't honestly even answer.
I would assume so. When you have that direct mail piece, it's tangible, it's in front of you. So even if I do throw it in recycling, I'm looking at it.
A branded impression that phone call certainly never had the opportunity to. So we talked about the list.
Yeah.
What about like offer or format? What do you see? How do those impact the potential success of the campaign?
Absolutely. So the higher end, more expensive formats tend to actually outperform like your postcards. And of course, there are two different types of postcards. You have like your standard, which is teeny tiny, and like when you get called up to go to jury duty, like those little guys, which is why I really got
black ink, one side, no bleeds.
Yeah, very simple, basic is going to have your lowest response rate. I mean, because like we said, it's not noticeable. It blends in with things, and it's not like fun or cute or exciting. You're like, okay. And even if it is branded and designed, it just doesn't have that same appeal.
Yeah.
An oversized postcard is going to perform better. But even with an oversized postcard, you're still looking at an average of 2 to 4% for that response rate. However, if you look at those more expensive formats, which are going to be dimensional mailers, maybe you want to do a box mailer. Maybe you're doing more of like a packet, just something that's going to stand out above and beyond like a standard postcard or envelope. Those are going to perform very, very well. In fact, those have a 6 to 12% response rate, which is great. However, the price of a postcard, like an oversized postcard, is going to run you, I mean, the stats online said 40 cents, but that's when you're buying a lot, right? So it kind of depends on how many you're buying. But I would estimate closer to like $1.50. Whereas that dimensional box or these more, fancy items, they're like $15 to $20 a piece. So your list may end up being a little bit smaller, but this type of mailer is going to be used for a specific industry. It's going to be your high end, and it's going to perform well because you don't get a lot of those in your mail.
Yeah,
so they stand out above everything else. They're far more memorable. And if you're on a list for luxury items, travel, those kinds of things, like they really identify who to target. They know these individuals are going to spend the money. So that ROI is going to be, yes, maybe it costs $15, $20 to send the box, but their return is going to be fantastic on whatever it is that they end up purchasing. So overall, it's kind of a balance, which leads in, you had mentioned industry. So those are the big three. You've got your list, you have the type of mailer, and then you have your industry. And it does, industries will determine some of that effectiveness. And a lot of that is because of, like I mentioned with the luxury items, just how much things are showing up in their mailbox. High-end types of things, they're going to have an increased response rate. But then when you look at like retail, then it's going to be probably cheaper if you're doing those like postcard mailers, but it's going to have a lower response rate than what, those higher end industries would have.
So catalogs, I mean, I don't necessarily love them, but like I just am probably not their like target audience.
Yeah.
Like clearly they have to be working or they would not be able to continue to produce them at the level
and
that do.
Actually, the research had shown, so kind of at the top for that response rate is you're going to have your, your video mailer, your dimensional mailer, gift card coupons, like what you had mentioned. I am also a sucker for a Dillon's. I'm always excited because it's going to be for things I buy. It's not going to be for random things, like when you get that spattering of coupons once a quarter or whatever.
Yeah.
But right underneath gift cards or coupons is catalogs.
Yeah. Give me like a gift catalog.
Yeah.
And I look through it. My kids look through it. They're marking it up. It's kind of like the Christmas catalog every year.
The Amazon Christmas catalog that arrives and I'm like, oh God, please hide it. It's way too soon. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Or I think Walmart might even have one that they send now. And so, I mean, they wouldn't do it if it doesn't work.
So you mentioned that there's a little math equation
and
that
I
helps
have to
me
reference my
I say so So this equation is something that we have access to. Anybody that has internet probably has access to it. They can help you sit down and ahead of time determine how many people do I need to hit with this predetermined, success rate to make this mailer a success overall, break even at minimum.
Yes.
What is that math?
Well, to begin, you really need to know your all-in costs. So we're not just talking like, oh, it's going to cost this much for the postcard. We want to know all of it because that's really the best way to know because that's what you're spending. You're spending your money on the design time. You're spending your money on the printing. You're spending your money on the shipping, the handling, processing fees, all of these different things. So make sure that you have a solid understanding of what that all-in cost is.
Yeah.
So to get your break-even conversion rate, what you're looking for is that minimum percentage of your audience or who you're mailing to, who needs to do the thing. They need to buy it. They need to register. They need to, whatever it is that you want them to accomplish, that true acquisition point. So that equation can kind of be a lot to verbally say. It's going to be in the blog, but let me kind of walk you through.
We can probably put it up.
Oh, that's
here
true.
in the
like
video.
Anna White.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So with an example of sending out 10,000 postcards, and this is postcards. So kind of keep in mind smaller. So we're going to make an assumption that your all-in cost is about $1.50 for each of these postcards. So then you're going to take your total distribution number, so your 10,000 multiplied by the cost per piece, which 10,000 times $1.50, so I don't mess it up, is 15,000.
Math.
Right here. And then from there, what you want to do is you're actually going to take the 15,000 and you're going to divide it by $50. And we're going to do the $50 because we're assuming that this is your profit per conversion. So like if somebody gets a postcard and then they do the thing, they buy whatever, your profit, not revenue.
Yeah. Okay. Big difference there.
Big difference. Your actual profit is $50.
Okay.
So you've got your 15,000
that you've invested.
Your total cost. And then we're going to divide that by your $50, which is
your
how
profit.
much you're going to profit. Yeah. So your total expense divided by the profit per piece. And then that's going to bring us down to 300.
So 300 people need to action the thing to buy whatever our product or service was, where we make that $50 in profit to cut even, and anything above and beyond that 301 pure profit, baby.
Yes, exactly. So you can look at that from that total, the 300 being the conversions, how many people we need to convert.
Sure.
Or you can break that down into a percentage of your list. So that list being 10,000. So you divide 300 divided by 10,000, which is when you're going to get your 3%. So you need 3% of your list to convert in order to break even. So,
feels doable.
Yeah. Yeah. And
especially based off of what you were talking about before, if the average response rate is 4.4%, then I'm making like 1.4% of profit.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where it's really important to know kind of those industry averages, kind of what to expect, know which type of mailer is going to really benefit you the best.
Well, and I think for some people, really understanding what is the profit that I make off of the thing that I'm featuring in my direct mail piece. Because oftentimes we don't necessarily think that through, and you're selling a $25 book, but you're only going to make $5 off of that. The amount of books you're going to need to be able to sell to be able to offset things. I mean, that all needs to factor into the math of, does this direct mail make sense for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that we have a traditional media or medium that it's like, look, we can do it. Yeah, we have the math, we have the numbers, like we can show you. And it's always exciting then to put it into practice and see those results happening too, for all marketing, but I'm biased with traditional.
Well, the campaigns that we've been running with a direct mail piece, and then we're layering that digital ad component on top of it to help really build the frequency and keep it top of mind. We are seeing that is getting conversions where, 6 months and 12 months ago, when we were running very similar digital campaigns, we were getting conversions, but the rate at which we were getting them was not as high. And I really credit layering and that direct mail piece as being the thing that sort of pushed people over the edge.
That additional touch point, that kind of a breakthrough touch point, if you will, that gets in front of them in person. Yeah.
So where does direct mail earn its keep the most? Like what are the most common ways in which it could potentially go wrong?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, for sure, winning back customers or customer retention, like we talk about with Dylan's.
Loyalty programs.
Those loyalty programs.
Suckers for that.
Bath and Beyond. No. Bath and Body.
Yes.
Maybe not Bath and Beyond too, but Bath and Body, like those types of things, like you see those more often. I do feel like, and I am biased because maybe if my husband did any of these things, he would also see. I just see a lot more focus toward me, but women are,
we buy most of the stuff.
We're
Do we not?
We're buyers, yes, for sure. So if you haven't had a customer come in for quite a while, and a lot of times you can tell that in your CRM system, then a postcard campaign could potentially go out to individuals who have not engaged with you in a certain amount of time. Or just sending out those kind of coupons for that retention, continuing to build a relationship, maintaining the relationship for sure. And just like with Dylan's and like what you said, I get this $1 off coupon that I'm so excited about, but I'm going to end up spending a lot more.
Well, and for some companies, the stock in which they keep a wide variety of items, but they aren't necessarily super deep in any given item. And once it's gone, it's gone. And so I think it's important that they think about ways to be able to continuously be pushing their new stuff out and staying in front of folks, not only as a brand, but also with like, what are we offering right now?
Yeah.
And so that's another one of those areas where like a timely direct mail piece layering on some digital might really help extend that reach in a way that is, cost effective and really allows you to drive some good profit.
Absolutely. And another good way to layer on with the digital is to target like a local foot traffic area.
Oh, sure.
So you're hitting those individuals, those businesses, what have you, who are relatively close, especially if you have something new launching that could benefit them, or if you're new to the area, always a good way to reach them as well.
It's low-hanging fruit when they're right there within walking distance. Okay, so we haven't talked about it yet. What are ways direct mail can go wrong?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, we all get things that we just send directly into the bin, the recycling bin.
Yeah.
So making sure that you are doing your research, like when it comes to the numbers, you absolutely want to make sure that you know that all in. You can determine what profit you need to have. If you don't have that information, just take a step back, figure that out.
Because direct mail really can be one of your more expensive line items on your marketing plan. And so if you aren't doing that math, it may just be money that goes away.
Yes. And making sure that there's a strong goal. I know we have hit on it a lot and we will continue to hit on it a lot, is having that media strategy and making sure that it makes sense within that strategy, because you know your goals and you know what you want to accomplish within the year, 3 years, 5 years. And so then when you're looking at the different tactics, which direct mail is just another tactic in the marketing funnel, making sure that it is what makes sense. But then also just having those checks and balances all the way through that production. So things like cold lists. Cold lists can have people who are no longer with us. They can have people who have
There's nothing worse than getting a piece of direct mail for someone that's passed away.
Yes. Yeah. My poor husband, like for years, would get things for his dad. And it's, we don't want that. We don't want to trigger somebody and, further that kind of trauma. But there are different programs and different entities that you can work with who will run that list
and help you clean it up.
Yeah, they can also run it against like a forwarding list, so they'll know like actually that person doesn't live there anymore. And you can save yourself a lot of money that way, because if you have a list of 10,000 people and you run it through that and you find out, oh, actually 1,000 of those are not usable,
Yeah.
you're printing less, and that's going to just overall kind of change that break even
Yeah.
all the way through.
Well, and that's, you know, a tenth of your printing costs you save, but also a tenth of your postage costs, which
yes,
adds up fast.
Yes, it does.
So this is another not a pre-planned question, so I'm putting Angie on the hot seat. What's one thing that you've learned is like the standout story from your marketing history about direct mail that you're like, oh God, never do that again?
Okay, so we created video mailers, which are on the list.
Nice.
It's actually the top of the list in terms of response rate for mailers. You probably haven't heard of it, and there's a reason. They are so expensive.
Yeah.
Essentially, it is what we created was the size of an oversized postcard, all kind of a cardboard casing. It opens up the flap, and there's a screen inside. And you submit pre-recorded videos, and this one had, I think, 3 different buttons. So really cool. This was a financial advisor industry, so really cool way to introduce yourself to them, you know, give them some information, like kind of welcome them into this new opportunity. But they were produced overseas in China. And oh gosh, working with custom, it was a nightmare. They actually ended up losing our first batch.
Oh,
Just gone. And then we had to reproduce them. We did finally get them. They looked really cool. But there are ups and downs, right? Like, are they fully charged? How long do they retain that charge? You know,
because things that you may not think of.
Yes, in the time, because it's like it's easy to get distracted by how cool a thing is.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was just, oh man, it was a disaster, kind of all the way through. But I mean, cool experience, something to learn by, made sense for that, you know, high end type of a product. But man,
you want to hear mine?
I do.
So, the thing I learned is don't ever just like verbally say like, oh yeah, it's going to be 75 cents to mail this. Physically take the example and become friends with your local post office guy with the list and have them like feel it, measure it, weigh it, do all of the things. Because I know of at least one, thank goodness it was a very small scale mail campaign that we sent out where every frickin' one of them came back because we did not have enough postage on it.
Oh no. It's also a good reminder to do a test run.
I love that idea.
Okay.
Cool. Well, I feel like you've given us a lot to think about. Any last words regarding direct mail?
I mean, I just think it's always worth looking into, right? Even in the blog post that I've been working on, it's like, should they do it? And my response is maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's fair.
It's easy to forget about the value of that mailbox out front or even at the post office and the impact that it can really have. So major pros, definitely cons, as there are with
Everything.
efforts. Yeah, sure. But definitely worth looking into.
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Buy.